Hallo, willkommen zurück. Und diesmal in dieser Folge wird es ein bisschen entschleunigt, denn wir investigieren. Wir unterhalten uns mit den Bewohnern des Krankenhauses und ich werde die Folge wahrscheinlich liebevoll, wie nennen wir sie denn? Abschmecken nennen. Ja, abschmecken hört sich gut an. Denn wir wollen gucken, wie die Leute so sind, wer liebenswürdig ist und wer eigentlich nicht, wer gut schmecken wird und wie viel wir aus den einzelnen Personen rausholen. Ja, dementsprechend, ihr wisst, was das heißt. Diese Folgen werden halt extra hochgeladen, weil die nichts mit der Hauptstory zu tun haben. Ich werde auch extra Folgen für die Nebenquests machen, hoffe ich. Und dementsprechend kann man sich die gesondert angucken. Wenn man Lust drauf hat, hier jetzt mit mir die Leute kennenzulernen und zu gucken, wen ich dann aussaugen werde, wer mir sauer aufstößt, denn ich versuche das nach einem Moralkodex zu lösen. Aber das ist alles noch weit weg. Erstmal müssen wir die Leute kennenlernen. Wir fangen hier mit dieser Patientin an.
Good evening, miss. I'm Dr. Reed, the new surgeon at the Pembroke Hospital. And who are you?
Your name has no meaning to me, mortal. You're nothing but dust blown by the winds of eternity.
I beg your pardon?
What are you begging for, mortal? My clemency? Well, tonight maybe I'm inclined to mercy. You'll never forget the night you met Thelma Howcroft.
You keep calling me mortal. Why is that? And if I'm mortal, what are you?
Well, Dr. Reed, if you must know, I'm a vampire.
And why do you believe you're a vampire?
I don't need to believe anything. It is what I am. It is what I feel within this hollow shell of flesh.
Please, describe to me how you feel. What is it like to be a vampire?
I can hear my body crumble from the inside as my flesh cracks and fades. I sense the last pulse of pustulant blood within my drying veins. I need new blood.
I see. Have you ever heard of Cotard's syndrome, Miss Howcroft?
Never.
It's a mental illness discovered by a French neurologist named Jules Cotard. The affected patients are delusional. They believe that they are putrefying, that they are dead, a ghost or a ghoul, or in your case, a vampire.
Delusional, you say? Oh, sad and petty mortal. You can't even begin to understand the concept of immortality. And you think it is I who am delusional.
I'm assuming you must be a patient here. Am I right, Miss Howcroft?
It's only a cover. To hide from my enemies. I can leave whenever I want. As a woman, a spirit, fog, or bat.
Who are these enemies you mentioned? Can you describe them?
No, I cannot say for sure. But I sense their eyes on me from nearby. I feel them watching me every time I visit the garden near the morgue.
The staff here are not your enemy. They're here to help you, to care for you.
I'm not speaking of the doctors in white. I'm speaking of the men and women who hunt me. For I am a vampire.
I see. Don't worry. These people will not find you here. I'll personally make sure they leave you alone.
Thank you, mortal. But do not interfere with them, for you are no match for those that hunt me.
Who are you really, Miss Howcroft? I mean, apart from being a vampire.
Is that not enough for you, puny mortal? What do you require? Proof of my powers?
I'm curious to know who you were before becoming a vampire.
It was such a long time ago, I don't remember. Centuries of unholy life can have strange effects on one's minds, you see?
Das machen wir noch nicht, denn das hat mit der Hauptquest zu tun.
I'll leave you, Mistress of the Dark, to your nocturnal activities.
So, wenn ich mich richtig erinnere, haben wir jetzt eine Quest bekommen. Wo sind sie denn? Da. Die Quests sind doch hier. Und wir haben schon ein bisschen die Qualität gesteigert, indem wir herausgefunden haben, dass sie unter dem Cotard-Syndrom leidet. Okay, und sie ist befreundet mit einem weiteren Patienten. Den besuchen wir dann auch gleich. Missionen. Bin ich ein bisschen verwirrt. Ach, guck mal. Die Docs haben wir auch schon. Oh, dann wird das alles ein bisschen länger. Dieses Zeichen übrigens zeigt an, dass die Patienten erkrankt sind. In diesem Fall an Erschöpfung. Und bei den anderen hier, Clay Cox, den wir gerettet haben an den Docs, auch an Erschöpfung. Und ich kann das behandeln. Das steigert dann auch nochmal die Blutqualität. Was sehr gut ist. Wenn ich jetzt... Da haben wir es. Das sind die Missionen, genau. Ach so, stimmt. Wir haben die Geldbörse gefunden. Was ist das? Ach ja, genau. Das war die Leiche, die wir in dem Lagerraum, dem alten Verbrennungsding, ich weiß gar nicht mehr, was es genau war, diesem Komplex, wo wir von den Skulls angegriffen wurden. Das ist auch eine Nebenquest und natürlich jetzt hier für Thelma. Ich glaube, das werden noch ein paar mehr. Der nächste. Da halten wir uns auch mal mit den Schwestern. Mit der nächsten Schwester. Wo ist denn hier eine? Da ist doch wer. Nurse Crane.
Dr. Reed, may I help you?
What can you tell me about the epidemic, Nurse Crane? I've been out of touch since I've come back to England.
Everyday folk don't know how bad it is. The papers certainly won't tell them. Not as long as the war is raging on, anyway.
News on the front stated that the Spanish flu was under control, at least in Britain.
It seemed to be for a while, but that was only last summer. It returned with a vengeance just over a month ago.
What can you tell me about our patients here at Pembroke?
This hospital was founded to help the East End poor and needy. But since the war and the quarantine, we've had all manner of folk.
Can you be more specific?
Well, veterans, the elderly, dock workers. We even have a few mental patients. If there's space, we take them.
For how long have you been working here, Nurse Crane?
I first volunteered at the Pembroke in 1911, a few months after Dr. Swansea was appointed.
And before you arrived here?
If you must know, this was my first job.
Well, Dr. Swansea certainly has confidence in your abilities. Are you in charge of the nursing staff?
Not in an official capacity, but the Pembroke doesn't always work above board, so to speak.
What about medical protocols?
Dr. Reed, we don't have the money and resources here at the Pembroke like they do in the West End. We do what we can.
Manchmal gibt es ja auch Gesprächsoptionen, da kann ich dann nur einen auswählen und die anderen verfallen dann. Und da muss ich aufpassen, da kann ich mir nämlich das Gespräch versauen. Das ist immer sehr schade, vor allem weil wir dann gewisse Hinweise zu neuen Gesprächsoptionen bei anderen zum Beispiel nicht mehr haben. Und dann können wir das Blut nicht verfeinern. Das ist sehr bedauerlich.
How is the duty roster organized?
Everybody works until they can't. If there's time, they'll eat a meal and shed a silent tear.
I'll see you later, Nurse Crane. Good evening, Doctor. I believe we're going to be working together.
Dr. Reed. Dr. Swansea informed us of your arrival, but I could not dare to believe we'd have such good fortune. Such an honor, sir.
Thank you. And you are?
I am Thoreau Strickland, Dr. Thoreau Strickland. I'm a great admirer of your work, Dr. Reed.
Please, could you tell me something about yourself?
I'm a great admirer of your work concerning blood transfusion, Dr. Reed. I run my own experiments. I'm convinced it's the future.
What made you choose to be a doctor?
I'm not ashamed to admit you and your work have inspired me. I am honored to have the opportunity to work by your side.
Das ist, glaube ich, zum Beispiel eine von diesen Entscheidungen.
It's always a pleasure to share scientific and medical knowledge with someone eager to learn. I'll be glad to help you if I can.
This epidemic may be the century's most terrible disaster, but I'm convinced that we, as doctors, are the only ones able to defeat it.
I based my technique on my mentor's research. He helped me perfect my method. What is yours?
I'd rather not talk about it. For now, it's just theories and first approach. My process is purely experimental and unsuccessful.
As long as you're cautious and methodical, you may remain empty-handed, but you won't fail.
You're not the first one to warn me, but I am convinced knowledge is the main weapon against the ravages of this epidemic.
What can you tell me about the Pembroke?
Well, it has always been an honor to work with Dr. Swansea. But with your arrival, I can't think of a better opportunity to learn about blood transfusion.
You seem quite optimistic. It's a rare and precious attitude in these difficult times.
I'm convinced that this epidemic is a test of endurance and dedication for us men of science.
Questions remain about our capacity to resolve the situation.
True. Last summer, during the first wave of the epidemic, I used to joke with Milton about the extra work. We're not smiling now.
Do you need help with anything in particular?
Well, yes, maybe. I'm waiting for a batch of products I ordered for my personal research, yet my supplier seems to have vanished.
Do you want me to play the errand boy for you?
Oh no, Dr. Reed. But if you went personally to his shop, what with your reputation and all, he wouldn't dare to refuse the products I need.
I see. Well, give me the address, for I may pass by if I have time.
Okay, für das nächste brauchen wir einen weiteren Hinweis von anderen. Aber ich glaube, weil das jetzt hier blau unterlegt ist, müssen wir aufpassen, was wir sagen.
Tell me more about your willingness to experiment with new medical techniques.
Harvey Fiddick is a patient suffering from a severe injury that could cripple him if not treated correctly. I'm convinced your blood transfusion technique could help him.
What is it you really want? To save him, or to prove your point?
Fair question. I want nothing but to save my patient, Dr. Reed. Especially since I know Mr. Fiddick's story.
This personal involvement could also appear to be a lack of impartiality. You must know that a good surgeon must remain neutral.
I agree. But that does not excuse Dr. Ackroyd's behavior, a man who did not even take time to converse with his patient.
Do you think keeping his distance was a mistake?
All I know is that I'm taking care of human beings, with desires, hopes and fears. Not some biological machine comprised of blood, bones and flesh.
Tell me Mr. Fiddick's story.
Our first diagnosis was compromised because Mr. Fiddick lied to us about the real origin of his injury. He first claimed it was an accident.
But why would he hide such crucial information from us?
Because he is a proud father, ashamed of putting his children at risk because of his own negligence.
Okay, das hat uns doch schon mal was weitergebracht. Ja, wir leben in London, da hatten wir nichts mehr, ne? Nö. Dann sind wir hier erstmal fertig.
Goodbye, Dr. Strickland.
Wen haben wir denn hier noch? Ein Patient? Das ist er doch, oder?
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reed. May I help you?
I don't know if a third opinion is needed. Your colleagues are already arguing about my condition.
I see. Would you mind telling me more about your situation?
I'm Harvey Fiddick. All I want is to get me bloody arm fixed properly.
Tell me about yourself, Mr. Fiddick.
I'm just a regular guy waiting to get his arm fixed, so I can return to work and to my family.
I was more curious about what you were doing before being hospitalized.
I'm a carpenter, and a good one too. But that means I need both arms to feed my family, Dr. Reed.
Tell me about the doctors who are arguing about your case.
Strickland and Aykroyd. They both want the best for me, but there's a lot of pride there. Doctors are no different from carpenters, it seems.
What do you mean?
I often had professional arguments with rivals on a building site. Difference is, I disagreed about wooden nails, not flesh and bones.
Are you satisfied with your treatment here?
Well, it's clear that I've chosen a bad time to be injured. Forgive my bluntness, but you seem overwhelmed by cases of the flu.
I won't lie to you about it. I'm afraid we are.
Are you sure you don't want to operate yourself, Dr. Reed? I have the feeling you're very capable. And your colleagues seem to think so too.
In other circumstances, you would be right. But for now, I don't think I can take on the responsibility. My apologies. Tell me about your injury, Harvey. Why do you feel so guilty about it?
My wife died because of me. And now I may lose everything because I've been careless enough to hurt myself. What an arsehole.
How could your job be responsible for your wife's death?
I was working a double. She went out to bring me a hot meal and got caught in a German bomb raid.
You can't hold yourself responsible for your injury, Mr. Fiddick. Unless you tried to hurt yourself.
Of course I didn't hurt myself. But I can't work until my arm is fixed. My children need to eat, Doctor.
Tell me more about the death of your wife, Harvey.
1915. I was in the army. Building workshops for the Royal Flying Corps. Helen was happy I wasn't sent to the front.
What happened?
The Germans sent Zeppelins to bomb the construction site, but they missed their target. My wife was bringing my dinner when the bombs fell.
I'm sorry for your loss. So many died during the bombings. I served in France and witnessed the carnage there.
I would like to say that she didn't suffer. Truth is, I have no idea. I just know that I'm all that me kids have. Poor little bleeders.
How are your children after losing their mother?
They were smaller then. The only good thing about this is my Helen didn't bring them with her that night.
Ich glaube, da haben wir jetzt auch alles. Ja.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Fiddick. I'll see you later.
I will not let you down, my boy.
Den schreienden Typen im Hintergrund habe ich übrigens nie gefunden. Ja, stimmt. Mortimer! Ich erinnere mich.
My sweet girl. Reads me like
Good evening. I'm Dr. Reed. Can I help at all?
No,
Really? Why are you here then?
I don't want to talk. My throat hurts too much.
I suppose that this pain is the reason you're here. Is someone taking care of you?
Yes. And no.
Could you at least tell me your name, sir?
Mortimer. Mortimer Goswick.
Kann ihn heilen, glaube ich. Erschöpfung. Ich was dagegen? Keine Ahnung. Better.
How painful is your throat, Mr. Goswick?
So painful I'd rather not talk at all, Doctor.
I'm sure you realize a doctor and his patient have to communicate, sir. Would it help if I gave you some paper and a pen?
Not really.
I see. Then maybe it's not just your throat that hurts, Mr. Goswick. Perhaps your sore throat is just the consequence of something more hurtful.
Yes, maybe. But I don't want to talk or even write about it now.
How painful is your throat, Mr. Goswick?
So painful I'd rather not talk at all, Doctor.
I'll let you get some rest then.
Good evening, sir.
Okay.
Good evening.
I'm okay.
Wir ignorieren einfach mal, was er will.
Tell me about yourself, Mr. Goswick.
I don't want to talk, Doctor.
Okay, hab ich verstanden.
I have to go now, sir. But don't hesitate to contact me if you need any help.
Good evening, sir.
Da
Doctor,
ist seine Ma.
Good evening, madam. Can I help you?
It's my son who needs you, sir.
I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed. How can I help your son?
I'm Beatrice Goswick, mother of Mortimer Goswick. Could you check on him, please, Dr. Reed? I've heard much of your talents as a physician.
What can you tell me about yourself, Mrs. Goswick?
Not much to say. Just take care of my Mortimer and I'll cover all the expenses. That's all that matters.